The Donut Bag is brought to you by Penn Highway Marketplace, the marketplace for vintage goods, quality collectibles, and handmade crafts. It's where I get all my sports memorabilia. Go to facebook.com/Penn Highway. That's facebook.com/PENNHWY and mention I sent you. In honor of the Steelers, we're going to be terrible for the first 3 quarters of this episode, and then be awesome for the last quarter. So I have a phone book here. I'm just going to read from the phone book for the first 45 minutes, and then so let's say, oh, Stall Plumbing and Heating 10% off. Okay, good. No, we're not going to do it. What? Okay, so what do they say? One time is a coincidence, 2 times is something, and then 3 times is a trend. This is a trend. Apparently, this is how the Steelers play games now. You're terrible. You rely on good defense, and then at the end they flip a switch and they're awesome for the last quarter. I guess this is how it's going to be this year.
Yeah, I guess the old adage is you don't have to be perfect all the time, just when we ask you to be, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, everywhere from Kenny Pickett to, which it's coincidence, this all works, to the line protecting him, to maybe I would actually dare I say really good play calling, to good running, to good pass routes. Everything came together there in the last part of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter. And, Joe, they might just be a team that has a defense that's built enough to keep them winning in that kind of situation. I mean, they just do. It's a pretty good defense. We haven't argued about that. Could have been a little bit of tackling here and there from certain guys, but still, overall, if you have a defense that's keeping you in games in the fourth quarter and your offense happens to come alive then, or the third, whatever it's going to be, then you're going to be in contention for almost any game.
It's interesting. I don't know what DVOA is. I don't know. It's some defensive measure, but the top 3 teams in whatever DVOA is are the 49ers, the Browns, and the Ravens. 3 teams that the Steelers played. They played the three best defensive teams in the league, and they beat 2 of them. We as Steeler fans just kill and just obsess over every little thing they do wrong. But they're 4-2. That's impressive. You gotta like it.
How many people on Twitter did you see say? I mean, everybody from I can think of in Pittsburgh media circles to national media circles say, "How the hell is this team 4-2?"
Seriously,
but they are. I think largely the defense has kept them there. I mean, has the defense made some mistakes? Yeah, but largely they've been keeping us in games. They won the Browns game. There's no denying that. They won the Browns game. So one of those 4 wins goes to them directly. And honestly, up until yesterday, I think Kenny Pickett and his touchdown run there from the 6 owed TJ Watt a big thank you, or maybe a good hotel breakfast on the road next time, because it was his interception that set up that play for the go ahead touchdown at that time. So yeah, their defense has put us in a position to win. But what was unlike what we've seen, I think, in the prior 5 games, Joe, that Steelers offense looked as good as it has all season long there in that fourth quarter. And for a lot of reasons. And, I think you really come down to the pro Kenny Pickett, con Kenny Pickett, or whatever side you want to say it is. But for all those people saying, well, the only reason Kenny has sucked is because he hasn't had this, and this. They looked pretty good yesterday, right? Because all of a sudden the line started blocking. The running game was good. You had Najee Harris had 53 yards. Jaylen Warren had 32 yards. Now those alone aren't blowing your mind, but they both scored touchdowns. They were solid running. They took a lot of pressure off of him. So guess what? Deontay Johnson was back, a point you've been making for weeks. Deontay Johnson's back. It's not all on Pickens. And all of a sudden, he's distributing the ball. They didn't even really miss Pat Freiermuth too much. And boom, I mean, the Rams really were a little bit stymied. They were out-schemed by Tomlin and, dare I say, Matt Canada. If you go back and I watched that fourth quarter again late last night, Matt Canada made some pretty good play calls. I know Fire Canada is the theme of the year, and everybody's making a T-shirt about it, but you better not do it yesterday, because, I think that yesterday, Canada, this offense, Kenny Pickett prevailed.
we've seen many quarterbacks in history that are good in quarters 1, 2, and 3, and then when it counted in the fourth quarter, they're bad. So Kenny is the opposite of that, but still, I just like. I'm sorry, we're gonna need more. And yes, I think
Yeah.
they it is slow progression. And I think that's just what we're getting. The offense of Kenny is just getting a little bit better every game, which is good. You want to trend upwards. So okay, yeah, we get, sometimes we were getting in the Ravens game, we got a good 5 minutes. In the Rams game, we got a good 15 minutes. Maybe we can extend that to a good 30 minutes next time. I don't know, but what it's just amazing. And it just sounds like, one explanation I've heard is, okay, they start out bad, but they learn what they're doing. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing. It's kind of like baseball when you see a pitcher, for the second or third time. It's like, I see what you're giving me. Now I can adjust to it. So maybe it's that. Maybe they're just adjusting to what the defenses are doing. And by the time it's in the fourth quarter, it's like, okay, I've seen everything you could do. Now we're ready for it.
I guess so, but I think part of it too is you just get a little bit of taste of what it is. I mean, you look at Kenny Pickett's last 9 passes. He went 9 for 9 for 140 yards, a touchdown. I mean, in a 24-17 comeback. I mean, he couldn't have been more perfect in that last half of that, at least the fourth quarter of the game. And yeah, there were the signs of the things we've all been hoping to see or thought was there. Nice arm, good accuracy, led the receivers well, good ball placement, didn't give jump balls, didn't overthrow, didn't make stupid decisions, picked up the blitz, all those things. Now, like you said, the other 3 quarters, it was kind of touch and go. I thought in that first half, he ran into the blitz a couple times, floated the ball a few times. But then, how about the white elephant in the room? That they won yesterday, okay? But my God, the receivers, what Pickens and Deontay are doing. Now, Deontay, I forget the guy he had the scuffle with. They were college teammates.
Akello Witherspoon, a
Right.
former teammate, and
They're
apparently
good
they're
friends.
friends.
And so,
So
and
when
I
he's
thought he was
given
right.
crap to him,
He said, but how can I expect the ref to know that? So he's right. So maybe he grew a little bit there and he showed it. But the thing about it was, and I'm not encouraging it. I mean, he did this. Now look, we have posters on our walls of a certain Pittsburgh Penguin doing that, and we love it. And I see so much worse. Like, how about Najee? I forget, after that one run, he just ran the guy face mask to face mask. No calls. I mean, there was other stuff I watched in various NFL games yesterday. No call. The taunting thing is such garbage. It's so open to interpretation. It's an objective thing. It's technically subjective in nature. So unless you are standing over the guy and either flick him off or kick him while he's down or whatever, then that's taunting. But this thing where these guys are going to do that all the time. But
what?
they gotta know. I mean, that could have easily cost us that game. I mean, I don't mean to single one out over the other, but Pickens, he's really got to get control of his emotions. He's starting, and people are saying another Antonio Brown. I don't know if it's that bad, but there's signs. We've seen it as fans. We know what it looks like, and it's looking a little like that. He's got to hone it in.
Pickens was a hothead in college, and he's showing those signs now. And they really gotta get that under control. There was a huge play to Deontay Johnson, which got called back on a what do they call it, a crackback block or whatever on
Right.
Pickens. And I mean, not that Hines Ward is dead, but Hines Ward would be rolling in his grave if he saw that was called a penalty. Like, listen, that's just being a Steelers wide receiver. I'm sorry.
Right. Every day at the office.
I mean, so okay, you gotta. And Pickens does this thing where he tries to fly in the air. He tries to do like a superfly snooker body, like flying body press on people or something like that. Like,
right,
you got to take that move out of your repertoire, bro. But yeah. But no, Pickens was too hot headed. It cost them big plays. Yeah, it cost them big plays. The thing with Deontay, that was just. I mean, I guess they expect them to be robots or something like that. I don't know. That was dumb, but still, that you're right. That could have cost them the game. And it's scary. And we were so happy that Deontay was back, and I think they just eased him back or whatever. But still, we saw look what this offense can do when you have when you're not doubling Pickens all the time. It seemed like as soon as Kenny Pickett saw that Pickens was 1-1, it's like, okay, I'll throw to you, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, that back shoulder throw was money. And I think last year, is as insane as it sounds, Kenny Pickett and Pickens had the highest QBR to wide receiver rating in the league over the last second half of last season. So it's there, and like you said, I think Deontay is probably one of the better route runners. And I don't want to put this all on Deontay, Joe, but you almost would think Deontay, being a veteran, he'd go over to the kid and say, "Hey, look, tone it down." But then he gets flagged for, and you saw Tomlin with his arms around both of them and
Right.
talking to him. So you hope that they just live and learn from that game. The other thing I take away is Rams missed 3 kicks. Kind of goes back to the Ravens game where all the drop passes that the Steelers get lucky yesterday. I don't think they're lucky. I mean, you missed 3 kicks. It was a bad performance by their kicker. It's not necessarily luck. It's underperforming on the Rams. And I think Steelers had a good win yesterday. It was a solid win. Pickett looked good when he had to. And there's a lot to build on. The one thing, too, is, as much as I'm critical of Mike Tomlin, they got out schemed versus the 49ers in that opening game. They didn't get out schemed yesterday. They were ready. They had a plan for Aaron Donald. They executed it pretty well. He was frustrated yesterday, and they did a good job blocking him. Harris, again, hitting the holes. Warren hitting the holes. It was a good mix. The running game was opening up. I really thought at one point, okay, we're going to give Najee Harris, and he is going to run us to victory. Because, the stats are killing. 5 touchdowns all year, no rushing touchdowns, and boom, we have 3 rushing touchdowns
in one game.
in one game. And you just hope that this is the catalyst for them to take that next step. Although one of their old arch enemies is staring them in the face coming up this week. We'll see. We'll get to that probably later here. But yeah, hey, one game at a time. This game, give them credit. They're 4-2. It was a nice win. West Coast trip. Tomlin has traditional stupid challenge. In the beginning of the game, the guy refuses to hire a replay coach up there. He really shouldn't consider that because this was bad. But they overcame that, and hey, 24-17, 4-2.
That whole challenge thing, though, I think he was actually right. Like they went to great pains to show that it's like, well, his toes down. I was like, yeah, but the rest of his foot wasn't. So I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. It's sometimes I think Tomlin knows that he's going to fail. He's good. The challenge is going to fail. He just wants to burn a long time out and just calm down that defense. So. Maybe that's it. Maybe I don't know.
At the end of the day, he got the better of Sean McVay, and hey, it's a win, and he's back here. They're 4-2, and now they get ready for Jacksonville. And as well as I do, there have been much better Steeler teams that we thought would cream the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars have just broken our hearts for years.
And this Jaguar team is actually good, so that's very scary. Very scary.
Travis Etienne is hot right now. He is a very good running back. But I feel like the Steelers' defense is up for that challenge. Can our offense come through?
I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Yeah. Their kicker, Brett Myron, whatever his name is, he is the same dude that basically missed every single kick for the Cowboys last year.
Right.
And the guy still has a job. Like, what are we doing here? What is it really? You got to find a kicker better than that, man. What did they not look at previous history or something like that? What did Brett Maher just give a resume and just say, "Oh yeah, I'm a kicker now"? So like you got to check references, bro.
Right. Yeah. I don't get that. Meanwhile, there's Boz just doing what Boz does. Just
automatic every time.
Yep. Nothing dramatic about it, nothing flashy. I'm just going to go out here and kick a field goal and go sit back down the bench. And it's what he does. And I got to find the weird irony about out coaching McVay yesterday. I don't think Kenny got that first down. With double irony, the night before, Pitt got the first down and got hosed. I think Iowa still got hosed worse than Pitt yesterday. But irregardless, Sean McVay couldn't challenge because he was out of timeouts, which is usually kind of more on
Could
us.
you imagine if if that happened to the Steelers? We
Oh,
would go nuclear right now.
it would have been a bad day to see.
But I don't blame McVay for that because he had to use all his timeouts to stop the clock because
He
the
did.
Steelers
I
were
just
driving.
found it
But
funny that
still,
his team goes,
and it happened at like 2:07 or something like that. If it happened at 1:57, it would have been an automatic review. So it's like he was 10 seconds off.
right.
But yeah, Aaron Donald is one of the greatest defensive linemen in history. And not just this time, but when they played it 4 years ago, they've neutralized Aaron Donald. That is extremely impressive. Cooper Kupp is one of the best wide receivers right now. And same thing. 4 years ago, he did nothing. This game, like two catches on like 9 targets or something
Yeah,
like
but
that.
Puka
That's
Nacua had some
extremely
catches.
impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
Puka
No, it is.
Nacua went
I don't know
wild,
what
but
it is. Like we always seem to, even like yesterday, Myles Garrett had a great game for the Browns. Against us, he never seems to be.
didn't do much.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. I'm giving credit where it's due, but he's just never that gigantic thing we're supposed to believe he is. He's still not better than TJ Watt, sorry. You're right, Joe. It's a good point. We always seem to step up against these guys that, claim that they're just going to destroy us. I mean, I think if we had to play the Cowboys next week, I think we'd find some reason to contain Micah Parsons. So, yeah, great point. Now, Puka Nacua had a pretty good game yesterday. What 8 catches for like 154 yards. But overall, though, the only other thing I noticed too is leave Joey Porter Jr. in man. I'm not sure it's good having him in the other coverage and the tackling. I don't know where that came from. He was a pretty good tackler at Penn State. I think I've seen him, get run over once or twice, but I mean, it was, big guys he was giving a lot of weight up to, but he needs to do better with that. I mean, he should have stopped that guy. He got 9 extra yards after they broke the tackle. He's got to learn to tackle better. And you would think being Jay Peasy's kid, he'd be a bone crusher.
That's what I'm saying. The son of a linebacker should be good at tackling. I don't get that.
But other than that, he was good.
Yeah. The nice thing is, you can learn to tackle. You can't learn. They don't teach how to cover wide receivers, everywhere. So, and when it counted, yes, Puka Nacua had a great game, but in the end, when it counted at 4th down, they threw to Puka, and it was Joey Porter Jr. that was right there. I would like for his nickname to be Blankets because he just blankets any wide receiver that he's covering. It's like he's like white on rice on any wide receiver. He's like Velcro or something. So
it's Pittsburgh. It's got to be like an iron blanket or
a steel blanket or something.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, they're 0-10 all time at the Rams, and now they kind of came over that. So yeah, West Coast hasn't been good to us throughout the years. It was good last night, and other than Nacua, but like you said, with Cooper Kupp, they're doubling him up a little bit. Nacua had a big name, and I tell you, if we're calling out who did well, Levi Wallace got his ass kicked all day yesterday. Buddy. That touchdown was, I don't know what he's doing out there. Didn't look good.
He looked bad a lot. I don't know what happened on that touchdown. You're talking about the end of the first half.
Yes.
They just threw it up and Tutu Atwell just it looked like a Hail Mary or something like that, but nobody was paying attention. It's like, oh, thanks, I'll just take this in for a touchdown. Like, I don't know if they were just so shocked that old man Matthew Stafford scrambled out of the pocket. I don't know. I don't know what that was. I was going into the season, I had no respect for the Rams. I thought they were going to be horrible, but because basically half their team was rookies or something like that. I mean,
they're a young team. Yeah, young team.
And they're pretty impressive. They're 3-4. Yeah, yeah. Stafford is still one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and they got Cooper Cup back, and we saw Puka Nacua. That dude is a real deal. He is a find. Um, they got a pretty good team there, but still, if the Steelers lost that game, and I was just for the first three quarters, I was just so angry. And at the end of the game, I tweeted that Godfather quote. It's like, every time I'm out, they pull me back in. Like,
Yeah,
that's I was
yeah.
just so, and then that fourth quarter, it's like, oh my goodness, they're awesome now. So it was just such a
Well,
frustrating game. It would be nice to see just, I don't know, a competent offense for 4 quarters. That's all I ask.
yeah, every Steeler game, for it seems like for the last couple of years, I'd love to just go out there and beat them 35-10. But that's, I think, the frustration part of it, right? And like I said before, you got your Kenny Pickett defenders, your Kenny Pickett, dissenters. I mean, you saw for one quarter, if Kenny Pickett could be like that for 3 quarters, let alone one, I mean, it'd be pretty damn good, but they couldn't do that. And I think you're right. Like, if they would have lost that game, boy, would today be tough. I mean, I think the Matt Canada fire things would be worse than they were before. By the way, there was a Fire Matt Canada chant on college game day in Columbus, which just with Ohio State and Penn State fans, which I thought was funny. Um, it's He did show emotion yesterday when Jalen Williams scored a touchdown. But yeah, and then you saw, so you take Kenny Pickett's fourth quarter yesterday. If I can have that Kenny Pickett for, like I said, 3 quarters, that's what we want to see. I mean, give us 3 quarters, give it 4 quarters, obviously. But hey, if we can get 3 quarters of that, damn, this team might be pretty good. It's like preseason all over again, right? Preseason, you and I and Allison and Leanne, we sat here like, oh my God, they're getting it, they're coming
Super
together.
Bowl.
Kenny looks good, AFC Championship, maybe whatever. And then, oh my God, the last couple of weeks and the total 180 and dissenting and Fire Canada and Kenny sucks, and boom, here you have what you saw yesterday. And I think we got a glimpse of what this team could be. And that's the team we're hoping to see. And like you said, we host in Jacksonville this week. What's going to happen? What team are we going to get?
Figured it out. Solved it.
Okay.
You change a scoreboard, especially at home.
Yes.
You just put up there that it's the fourth quarter. No matter what time, what
like
if it's the first quarter, second quarter, third, you just put it's the fourth quarter the whole time. Kenny Pickett will go crazy. 500 yards, 7 touchdowns.
That's
like,
what it'll be.
You'll be like, man, that's a really long fourth quarter. That fourth quarter lasted like 60 minutes. What's going on here? It's like, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't know if, I think one of the things too is getting out to a lead. Like, if they could get up 14-3 with the defense, instead of the defense always playing from behind or relying on the defense to keep us there till we can get there. Like, just hold everybody up. We'll get there. Give us 50 minutes and we'll be ready. But like what I was seeing, like, because Darrell Henderson started looking good. He was ripping off some runs. They were getting a little gassed. And then, like you said, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, we started putting on some longer drives. Things kept going good. TJ Watt was able to take a break, put a towel on his head, get a drink, have some fun, and, see what Taylor Swift's up to. And yeah, but no, I mean, it would just be so nice this Sunday. Let's say by halftime, it's 21-10 or 17-6. That's what I would love to see. Because I'd love to see what a second half would look like if we went in with like a 10-point or even, 13-point lead at halftime.
Yeah, it's not just the offense that got better in the fourth quarter. It's also the defense. The defense, I think Matthew Stafford's like last 10 passes were incomplete or something like that. It was not good.
Kenny's going, woo, and Matt Stafford's going, ugh.
Right.
It's
right.
Like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. And they were scared of the pass rush, and they were doing like max protect and everything, and it still wasn't working.
Right. And I guess if you're doing wishful thinking, Joe, you say, okay, you build off of this, and Kenny and the guys saw what they could do. Let's just carry that right into Jacksonville and keep doing it going forward. But obviously it's a different team. You got to scheme differently. I get that. But hopefully there's some momentum there, Joe, and something you don't see on a stat sheet that just kicks in and drives these guys.
But I think that's the ideal scenario, and I think that's what they hope for. What they want is a strong running game to keep the defense off the field, get a lead, and then toward the end of the game, just get a lead so that it forces the other team to pass, and you know what they're doing. But look at what happened in this game. They had the lead, and you say, okay, great. At what point are the Rams going to get the ball back and drive down the field and possibly tie this? They never got a chance. Now,
No,
yes, there was a little bit of a questionable call there that might have had something to do with that, but still, they basically ate the last like 5.5 minutes of the game, which is exactly what you want. Just grind down the clock and don't even give them a chance to come back.
no, exactly. And I think that's what you see. Like you look at the teams like the 49ers and the Eagles, they're kind of doing what we're saying. That defense is good when it has to be because the offense is kind of methodically taking the lead. Funny thing about fantasy, I have Tua at quarterback, I have Waddle at receiver, so I've been paying closer attention to the Dolphins than I normally would for whatever reason. Last night I tweeted, I think the Eagles are going to take them. And you know how it is. I actually had to score 31-17 Philly, but I took it off because I didn't want to be like, if they lost, it's going, oh, you got the score wrong. You suck. I should have left the score there. And the reason I said that is because if you looked at the Miami Dolphins,
Uh-oh. We lost Darren. He's coming back. There you are.
4 of the Dolphins' 5 wins were against teams that conceivably could pick number 1 in the draft in the spring. They got smoked by the Bills, and I'm sitting there. Carolina was even up 14-0, and then they just turned on the gas.
Yeah.
So, can the Dolphins come in and score 36 points a game like they had been? Yes, but they hadn't faced a team like Philly when they did. The Bills, they got it handed to them, and they got it handed to them the same manner last night. So, I think the same thing could happen to the Steelers. You'd say, oh, well, Miami would beat us 52-0. No. I think our defense could keep it in it, and we could actually conceivably beat the Dolphins. It's those kind of things there. It's mirror image, of what you see on paper versus what is reality. And I think that's what Steeler fans get caught in this rut is. I think the reality is we feel this offense is there. It could be there. Just hasn't been. We know what the defense can do. And boom. I mean, if they could just start putting together some games like the Eagles and the Chiefs and even the Ravens with the Detroit Lions yesterday, get up and let your defense then, do what it can do.
The people said, oh, the Ravens, they beat themselves. They had all those dropped passes and they should have won or whatever. Like, yeah, they didn't get all those drop passes in a vacuum. They got them because they were playing the Steelers defense. And the team that scored 10 points against the Steelers just destroyed Detroit, who's a pretty good team. So yeah, maybe the Steelers defense is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think if we can just get that offense to give us 3 to 4 good quarters, I think we could be in a pretty good spot. I mean, Cleveland got so lucky yesterday.
Oh
It
boy.
really at this point should be us and the Ravens and the Bengals trying to catch up. But I mean, the refs bailed out. I got a buddy of mine. He asked me, "Is the officiating getting worse?" I don't like bragging on officials because I do. That I do a lot of high school football coverage. I host a radio show on Friday nights. I lit into a lady that was going in after high school officials, but these NFL officials, the taunting thing we just talked about at the beginning of the show. There was a badly missed call in that Dolphins Eagles game last night. The ref was right there. I mean, he's right there. He missed a total face mask. My gosh, I just how you blow that game with the Browns. I mean, they basically blew 2 huge calls that gave the Browns that game. So anyway, I'm still not a believer in the Browns. The defense is great, yes, but I think we're a better team.
Yeah. Yeah. The Jaguars are going to be tough though. That's going to be good, but I have a feeling even if they do win, they're not going to score as much as they do against other teams. I think and it's going to be at home. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, and you don't have James, JMJ. I can't pronounce his name. You don't have JD Drew playing that, or Drew playing. That was good.
Maurice
And,
Jones-Drew.
Yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew. Thank you. You don't have Maurice Jones-Drew playing. You don't have the litany of
Blake
Jaguars quarterbacks.
Bortles.
Blake Bortles.
Oh,
I mean,
oh, that just
AFC
ruined my
playoff
week.
game.
Oh my God, that Blake Bortles game. You made Blake Bortles look like a Hall of Famer. Oh my God.
Maybe made David Garrard look like a Hall of
David
Famer.
Garrard. Who
I
was the
mean,
running back? Was it Fred something?
yeah, Fred. It's escaping me now, but
And there was a holding call on that game. Wasn't that a playoff game or something like that?
yeah, it was.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, you would think, well, why do fans care about the Jaguars? Because we've had a bad history with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
even in Jacksonville, like some really bad teams, the Steelers have just barely won. There's some hex going on. There's some jinx,
Yeah.
something like that.
But you know what it is? It's kind of what we're talking about tonight. It's a very well balanced Jags team. I think our defense is better. Their defense is pretty good, and that offense is pretty good. Like I said, Travis Etienne is lighting things up. I don't think they have any receivers that are blowing the top off everything, but it's a good receiving core. And the distribution's good. Quarterback play is good. Trevor Lawrence doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So it's a well-balanced, good team. It's what I think the Steelers strive to be and could be. So, yeah.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think in the end, probably because of a weaker schedule, the Jaguars are going to end up like winning like 11, 12 games. I think that they're that good. Not that they're elite or anything like that. They're just I don't think they have the greatest schedule, but still, Trevor Lawrence was I remember when he was basically the chosen one. He's supposed to be like one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. We really haven't seen it yet, but still, he's not bad either. I think he's becoming that.
Yeah, it's starting to look better. It was Fred Taylor that ran all over us.
Yeah,
Fred Taylor, great running back. I mean, he ran over a lot of other people, but wasn't there like a Monday night he had like 240 yards, something insanely ridiculous against us? Like, I mean, it was bad. We couldn't stop him to save our lives.
Was that the game where Cowher wanted to tackle the guy?
I think so.
Remember that?
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's the thing. It's a well-balanced team. I think Trevor Lawrence continues to improve. And that's what I mean. Like, it's kind of like the Steelers a little bit. Okay, Kenny Pickett, awesome fourth quarter. Now, Kenny, give us 3 quarters of that. Give us 4, whatever. Give us, let's see that over 3 quarters. Come on, man. I want to see it. I've been a critic of him lately, but who doesn't want to see him do well? I do. And you just hope that you can, like that's what I'm saying, momentum going from last week to this week. Let's see that offense keep it up. Because then I think it's going to be a really interesting game. Really interesting.
He's just so frustrating. And then, for some reason, when he escapes the pocket, he needs, what he needs? He needs Ben Roethlisberger to teach him how to move around in the pocket, because for one, he does this spin move where he goes to his left and it goes right into like getting a sack. Like, dude, stop doing that. That move never works.
Yeah. But and again, I think that's part of Matt Canada is his quarterback coach, which I'm not too excited about. I think I would have been a lot more comfortable with various other quarterbacks, including a former Jacksonville Jaguar that I happen to like, would have been a much better quarterback coach for him, who apparently has reached out to the Steelers.
Well, actually, it's even worse. Actually, the quarterback's coach is that Mike Sullivan. And Mike Sullivan right now is busy being the coach of the Penguins. He doesn't have time to be with Kenny Pickett. And Matt Canada is too busy working on his reactions on how to be human in a booth. So he can't spend any time with Kenny Pickett.
The power play's another podcast for another. His inability to figure out where to put these guys on the power plays,
right?
But like I said, another conversation with somebody else, or me, whatever, anytime. But yeah, again, it's a Jacksonville Jaguar. They're not like in a top 10 of an offense, but they're good enough. They're well balanced enough that they do their things. They're averaging like 341 yards total a game last I checked, so pretty good balanced offense. But yeah, an offense I feel our defense matches up well against. And yet again, the question will be, can Kenny and the guys overcome that? Can they put us over the top? Because if they play like they did yesterday, I really like our chances of beating the Jaguars. But if they play like they did for the first three quarters, like I said, Jacksonville,
Right.
methodical, not a lot of mistakes. Before we know it, we're going to be down 18 points or 17 points. It's going to be too much.
You can't rely on that. There's going to be games where the defense is bad. There's going to be games where the defense has a bad game. It's going to happen. You can't just rely on the defense for you to hang in into the fourth quarter where you turn it on. That's just not sustainable. It's very nice and it's impressive. And yes, it's it's more than just a coincidence, but still, it's not how you do it against good teams. So
yeah,
they need to step it up.
Yeah, Jacksonville is averaging almost 25 points a game, but I think we can keep them under that. It's just a matter of can the offense do that, and that's the thing. It's a total different conversation today, Joe. Because if they lose that game, we're probably sitting here. They're not going to be Jacksonville, but what we saw in that fourth quarter leads me to believe this is a beatable. This is a team that can beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and be 5-2 at next week's podcast.
All we do, basically everybody last week going into the bye acted like we were 2-6 again or something like that, and we were actually 3-2. It's like, it ain't pretty, but they're getting it done. So
yeah,
I think that's just how it's gonna have to be. It's not gonna be pretty, but we'll see if they get it done. And probably not this game, maybe not even versus Tennessee, because that's a Thursday game. But pretty soon, Cam Hayward. Yeah, I know. Great. Another Thursday night game. But Cam Hayward is coming back soon. That's going to be a huge boost to the defense, assuming that he's okay and he's, in right shape and not hurt again or something.
Yeah, no, totally agree. He'd be a big boost. You saw the impact Deontay Johnson had this past weekend. So, yeah, all things are kind of starting to point to their way to a point where, like, man, if you can start firing on these cylinders and feed off this kind of a thing, we can put some wins together and finish. I had them at 11-6. That's kind of swaying a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but if they play like they did yesterday, it could be there. 10 or 11 wins is definitely attainable.
The crazy thing is, up until up until almost Christmas, they are home against the Jaguars, home against the Titans, home against the Packers, at the Browns, at the Bengals, home against the Cardinals, home against the Patriots, at the Indianapolis, home against the Bengals. That is basically either in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, or in Indianapolis. And that's it. They basically don't have to travel for the next 2 months. So
that's right.
It's you put away your luggage for when you fly. Yeah, and if they could get by Jacksonville, I think Tennessee sucks. I mean, they're already trading away players. I think the Packers suck this year. At Browns is going to be tough. At Bengals is going to be tough. Home to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are awful. The Patriots, who knows what's going on with them? I think they got to make hay while the sun shines and do well in these next 5-6 games. And I think they could look pretty good and maybe get to that 10-11 win streak.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think a lot of us, I don't know if Angie and Leanne were the same way as you and I, but I think almost all of us had them splitting between the Bengals and the Ravens. And so I don't know if they're going to beat Cleveland and Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to be amped up for that, considering
probably not. Yeah.
But yeah, no, a lot of those games you look at, again, they're very winnable. It's just a matter of we got to figure out which team's going to show up. Or do we do what we did last year and they start going on a run? Does Kenny get consistent? Does the offensive line get consistent in blocking for him? Can the running game open up? I still need to see one of those games where, like, either, I don't care who it is at this point, one of those two guys has 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, or something like that. That's what I would love to see. Or like I said earlier, hey, they get up 17-3. You start handing it to Wyatt or Najee Harris. You start handing it to Warren, and they start taking over the running game, and we start opening up holes. And yeah,
I think that's the next step. I think the next step is a good running game. And I think the other thing, besides the progression of the offense, I think the offensive line is getting better. Hey, they neutralized Aaron Donald, and that's very impressive, no matter how you look at it. So I think that's the next step. Get that good running game going, have a good game with Najee and Jaylen Warren where they're just running it down their throats. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I don't know how the Patriots beat the Bills yesterday. I mean, they've been talking about these coaching changes lately, and the one thing I think is funny is Sean McDermott's name's not been coming up. How isn't it coming up? Because I think he's got to be on the hot seat. I mean, you're getting into Josh Allen's premium years here right now. Their defense, I understand, is depleted. It's been injury ridden, but Sean McDermott's got to be on the way out if this team doesn't do what they. But maybe the Bills are gonna tumble here a little bit. They're 4-3 now, and they haven't looked good. They barely beat
the Bills. They barely beat the Giants. That's a great point.
the
What's up with that, Bills? They're supposed to be like a Super Bowl favorite, and they might not even make the playoffs.
Right, and I think again it's obvious their defense is hurting. That's why you get the Patriots. I think we have a pretty good shot at beating the Patriots because Mac Jones doesn't impress me. I think the Steelers could really easily run away with a win on that game.
But I'm telling you, the Browns are a mess too. I don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson.
No,
but honestly, the best thing for the Steelers is if Deshaun Watson actually plays, because I think they're better off if they have that PJ Walker as their quarterback. Heck, the PJ Walker beat the 49ers and PJ Walker 2-0 lately.
Right.
Deshaun Watson, I don't know what's going on there. He's medically cleared to play, but it's like, oh, we don't want him to play.
The best are the massage jokes. Well, can I go get a massage? No, no. I mean, that's just too great. But
that's the joke. It's like it's hard for him to rehab that shoulder because nobody will go help him, massage it or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Well, and the Browns and the Steelers are kind of that Spider-Man meme right now, right? The one where their defense is undeniably a very good defense, and their offense is like you never know what you're going to get. And I still don't. The referees bailed them out of that game, and they shouldn't have scored 39 points. But how good is their defense? Because they just gave up 38 points.
They just to Indianapolis to Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew and the Colts, which is a okay offense, but not a 38-point offense. So who knows? Maybe they will go sweep the Browns. I don't know. Very interesting how things are going right now.
It's very interesting, and the Steelers set themselves up very well. That it was a close win against the Browns, close win against the Ravens. You get those division games. Now you're winning even those non-conference games too. It's huge. That's all you need to do is keep stacking those wins so you don't sweat it out at the end.
Yeah. Again, like you said, they had some games there. I think Arizona, New England, they should easily beat both of those teams. But there are some in Tennessee they should easily beat. So let's say there's 3 teams I feel like they definitely will beat. And this Sunday they could lose. And if they lose Sunday, as long as it's respectable, I'm not going to be all that upset about it because I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'd be okay.
Jaguars, I'm going to be even more encouraged because I think it's a pretty good team. So, Sunday's big game.
Just don't get blown out. Don't have Blake Bortles show up and post 45 on you. And the crazy thing about that dang game is that they almost won it. That was Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown at the height of their powers, and they almost pulled that off. But the defense was so bad, and the Jaguars just scored every time they touched the ball. It was so frustrating, but they almost pulled it off.
And the one thing I keep going back to that game is what was the Mike Mitchell going over there in pregame in the Jacksonville Jaguars locker room, knocking on the thing saying, "We're going to kick your ass. You stink. Are you out of your mind? First of all, you're not good."
He wasn't even that good. Yeah.
He was getting burned all year. He was easily a weak point on our defense. Are you kidding me? You're going over there and pissing on their fire? That's
when I think that was when they had Leonard Fournette. And
yeah,
I think like his big thing, like Mike Mitchell didn't really give a crap about like tackling anybody. He just wanted to get a big hit, regardless of whether it was a good play or not, or even stop the play. He just wanted to get a big hit. Like, dude, you suck. I'm not a fan.
Nope.
All right, sir. Well, see, we were good the whole time. It wasn't just, we weren't just good in the fourth quarter. We were good the whole time.
That's right. All we ask is that Kenny Pickett maybe
do the same.
Bring Kenny on the show next week, and he'll see. It's just great. It's great stuff for 45 minutes.
I'll tell him I have an idea to bring back the original hot dog shop.
Oh, what
Instead
was
of
that you posted? What is it now?
it's a generic taco stand.
Oh,
They turned it into a taco stand. It's not, I know. It's so heartbreaking. It's like,
people in
oh,
state college would talk about the original O, right? Like you'd say, "Oh, we were from Philly, you're from Pittsburgh," and like even Philly people would be like, "Oh, we got the cheesesteaks here. Here's where you go," and they're like, "They've got the best French fries at this place." I mean, it was acknowledged statewide
it
how
was
great that place was, and just
it was an experience.
yeah.
It was nasty, possibly dirty, possibly health code violations.
Oh yeah,
The
more than
the
possible.
staff was rude, but it was the best dang fries you ever got. If you got a large fry, they literally filled the entire basket full of things and just dumped it on a tray, which probably never got cleaned. And then they dumped half a ton of nacho cheese on the thing.
We were
And oh,
we were there one night. It was a bachelor party. I remember this, and so we stumble in there at like one godly hour, and they forgot to put the gravy and cheese on the fries. And my friend who was in, he was in from like Minneapolis, and he goes in, "Oh, hey, I'm sorry, I asked for gravy and nacho." I mean, there was like a bowl full of. I mean, they just came out and like dumped it. Like, I mean, it looked like a swimming pool in the deep end, and there was a French fry bobbing up as it came by, and like she just handed it to him, and it's dripping, and he's like, okay. And I was like, just dude, shut up.
just stop. Just stop. It's the worst customer service ever. They pride
Yeah,
themselves on being rude to you. It was
right,
just
right.
amazing. It was just
But
amazing.
yeah, it's when you have those kind of places like
Hey,
that.
I went a couple weeks ago. I went up to Penn State and went to the creamery.
Yes.
And then I found out that there's a creamery right down in Squirrel Hill. Now, I mean, we went because we also wanted to visit the Penn State campus, which is very nice. It's just a gigantic,
Oh, it's so big.
sprawling campus, so big.
Yep.
I can't, and I drove by Beaver Stadium, and that is just a mammoth stadium, and that has to be so much fun when you got 100,000 people rocking that stadium. That has to be an amazing experience. I could just imagine, and I could just imagine. I parked in a parking garage, and I know it only cost me $1. But it's like
Yes.
on game days these are $45.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's
I,
yeah, even though there is a ton of parking, there still isn't a little. And I remember that with Pitt Stadium. I'm like, oh, bring Pitt Stadium back. There was no parking.
no,
You couldn't go to the bathroom.
no,
It
no.
was a fun little stadium, but yeah, no, they've done it right, and they're putting a huge renovation on it. Now, where did you eat? I know I gave you a couple of
I
recommendations.
didn't. You know what? We literally. I drove 3 hours. We had a scoop of ice cream. Went around the campus a little bit, and then drove right back home.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
drove 6 hours for a scoop of ice cream.
I thought most Pittsburgh fans wouldn't do this, but I'll never forget. It was the last year you guys. So when we played that 4-game series against Pitt, it would have been the last Pitt time Pitt was there.
Okay.
But we like to go across I-80 because again, most Pitt people are kind of winding their way back down the turnpike and then over to the city, or 22, right?
Yeah.
But up in 80, there's Denny's Beer Barrel Pub, and they still make the largest hamburger in the state. It's massive.
I love
And
burgers.
it made national news. I think when I was a student there, and they have all these. You can go around. They have these walls of plaques of all these people that failed to eat this big burger. And it was a Penn State gymnast. She was like 109 pounds, and she ate the whole damn thing. But no, we're there, and the Pitt cheerleaders and the dance team were at Denny's Beer Barrel and Pub. Like my wife was sitting there. It's where it's like I don't know, 10 after 11 at night, whatever it was. Here comes the Penn State dance team and the cheerleaders. And I'm assuming the one guy, he was pretty sweaty. I'm thinking he may be the Panther. I don't know what the Panthers are going on.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they were all there. So Denny's Beer Barrel and Pub, you got to do it.
Oh, I gotta go back.
Yeah,
I
you and I
gotta
should make
check
a road
that
trip up
out.
here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
All right,
Good
sir.
day to you,
Hey.
sir. Thank you as always.
All right, I'll see you.
Yep.